Welcome to BirdDogPolitics. I'm BDP. Today's episode, how fatherhood influences my politics. It's the whole thing, isn't it? Everything I do is for my son. The reason I get up and go to work every morning. The reason I keep fighting the fight. The reason I vote. Okay? So what do I want this country to look like when my son is no longer 10? What do I want this country to look like in 15 years? What do I want his life to look like? How much freedom will he enjoy? Will he be allowed to get a job? Will that job lead to the middle class like it did for my grandpa? Or will it not? We need to decide that together. It's tougher and tougher to make it into the middle class. And we're all working really hard. And truth be told, I'd rather spend more time with my son than more time at work. If only there was a way to give parents more time with their families and less time at work. If only America had enough wealth that could be done. They say that American young adults are much less likely to have kids now than ever before. Of course, obviously. Having kids, becoming a parent. Let's talk about it that way. Some people have kids. I became a parent. My wife is about to become a parent. That's a very different thing from having kids. I've been teaching for 18 years, and there are some students who live with grandma and grandpa, live with auntie and uncle, don't live with mom and dad. There isn't mom and dad. Nobody wanted to be a parent at that time. And so now, young Americans are figuring that out. It is hard work to be a father. The rewards can be few and far between. And the rewards are only if you find those things desirable. Do you want to watch a beautiful young person grow? Or do you not care? Because if you don't care, then that's not a reward for having kids. My wife is quite a bit younger than I am, and she's been an awesome stepmom to my son. And he gets really good grades, and he's polite. He says please and thank you. He doesn't fight with anyone. He's been easy. I also coach basketball and baseball. The other boys on the team are rougher, less gentle. My boy's gentle, takes after his old man. I was crying until age 35, I think. I still cry once in a while. But my son is a good boy. He's really, really smart. He was 2 points off of a perfect math score on the state standardized test. He can use that skill. He can use that talent. I hope there's a way for him to solidly join the middle class by being an expert mathematician. I think I'll take him to NMU or to Michigan Tech and just walk through the math department and say, hey, if this young boy knows that he's real good at math, what sorts of careers could a boy like that sign up for? And then maybe those tech professors will give him a little insight. Because if we don't, we're up in the North Woods. There's no concept. You can go work out at the old folks' home. You can be a teacher, or you can work at a gas station or a grocery store. We don't see all of these other opportunities. There's a physical therapist, but the kids don't see that as an employment. There are occupational therapists. There are operators. There are bankers. But mostly, kids do what their parents did or they find what's convenient, what everyone else in town does. And I would love to see more education. That career and technical is absolutely worthwhile. Here are the variety of things you can do with your skills. You don't have to go to college and take on debt, especially if you won't be paid a wage that honors that college degree. But my wife said, our son is so well behaved. He's such a good boy. He brings so much joy and love. I want that for me. I want to carry a baby. I want to raise a baby with you, not with anyone else. I said, I'm too old. You're much younger. Find a young guy, someone with energy. And she said no, because she loves me and I love her. So we're having a baby girl this summer. And so sleepless nights, some sacrifices will be made. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tricky. These bags under my eyes will get darker and deeper. This is just regular springtime school, sleepless nights, anxiety, worry about my kids' futures, paperwork, all those things that need to be done. This is regular tired. I'm about to be new dad tired in my 40s because my beautiful young wife wants to have a baby with me. And so just like with my son, I'm going to be there every single step. I grew up in a single parent family, and so that impacted a lot. When my son was born, I gave up all my hobbies. I dropped out of the softball league. I stopped seeing my friends. I had to be home. It's kind of a reaction to my own upbringing. And it didn't have to be that way. That was my mistake. But it didn't harm him in any way. Honestly, I have a 50-50 custody with my ex-wife, and I think that's a very, very excellent way to live. For 1 week, I go hard for my son. And then for a week, I get to be me, kick back, not cook so much, and rejuvenate for the following week. Not many people get that, but I do think that is a pretty optimal situation. And I'm going to have a baby every single day, and I'm going to be active every single day. I work with teachers, so I know about being a single mom, rushing the kids to dance, rushing the kids to skating, to cheerleading, to football, to basketball, to soccer. Husbands who are out on the road, or husbands who are not in the picture, or worse. My father was killed by a drunk driver in 2005. I was away at college. And this year's the 20th anniversary, so I cried pretty hard this spring, missing my dad and wishing he could be a grandpa. But I'm going to make sure I'm a great dad for my kid. I need to know, though, since this is BirdDogPolitics, what do you want me to tell my son about America? We have freedom of speech, even freedom to lie, constantly. Feel free, lie. People believe you, so much the better. Call me a Christian, but that don't fly in my church. You don't need to lie. I don't need to lie. I believe the truth is on my side. I believe it's true that wealth inequality is worse now than it's been maybe in my lifetime. Certainly in my lifetime, maybe longer than that, I should have said. Pardon me. This is all new. It's going to be rough for a bit. But it's day 2 when I'm still energized, despite the bags under my eyes. I also love kayfabe. I love suspending belief and embracing the theatrics. But I also love looking behind, Millennial, so we like peeking behind the curtain. I used to subscribe to all the wrestling newsletters. I got the spoilers. Now I don't want them. Now I just enjoy the theatrics of it all. But once I engage with a superstar, then I go read the bio and try to figure out where they came from and what's real and what's not. My son likes wrestling a little. His stepdad likes wrestling a lot. So we'll see. But what do I tell my son? He's incredibly talented. Will talent carry him far enough in this country? Will he be able to join the middle class the way that we always thought we would? Or will he be buried in debt and working 60 hours a week for the man? And being told to quiet down when he suggests things could be better. Told to accept it. It's funny because he's already 10 and I have already seen his grades, and his teachers say what a kind kid he is, and he's got some friends. He's a lot less shy than I am. I'm quite introverted. It's pretty easy to talk into this camera, and it's pretty easy to hold a microphone in front of an audience, but I don't do well in bigger crowds. I don't do well when I'm asked to mingle. I don't make small talk. It's a very underdeveloped skill that I have. But my son's better at it. He's got some of the social tools that'll serve him well. And I'm going to do, or I am doing, some of the things that I wish would have been done for me, just because I know who he is. He looks exactly like me. He behaves exactly like me. The same things that made me cry at his age make him cry at his age. And so it's gentle parenting, but for the most part, people get it. I'm pretty gentle in my classroom too. That doesn't serve me as well, because I don't have gentle kids. I have kids that aren't my own, kids that don't come home to this peaceful house. In my teacher training, I learned about ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. And the more of those you pile up into a child's life, the tougher and tougher and tougher everything else is. Divorce, alcoholism, poverty. Those things really weigh. And so during my divorce, when I started seeing my shrink, we unpacked some childhood stuff, and that was helpful. And now I know to look at my students and try to understand where they're coming from. And sometimes it works really well, and sometimes it does not. Sometimes I get mowed right over by the toughest kids. People say, "Bird Dog, why aren't you harder on those kids?" Because they're kids. Well, why don't they walk in line quiet? Nobody else walks in line quiet. The adults don't, the middle schoolers don't, the high schoolers don't, the teachers don't. Come at me because they're giggling with their best friend walking to lunch. I'm too soft. That's what they tell me. And my wife says with our baby girl, I can't be too soft. So we'll see. Maybe this is a change year for me. But holy cow, what am I going to tell this little girl about America? What am I going to tell this little girl about the men in America? Where do you find a good one? Because sincerely, these young boys have been told that working hard leads to the American dream. These boys have been sold the idea of the middle class. And then they come to find out they can't afford a house. They can't afford rent. They can't afford a new vehicle. Back to mom's basement, you loser. It's not being a loser. People with full-time jobs, young men with full-time jobs, have to move back in with their parents because of the housing market, because of the way the economy is structured. Bill Maher's exactly right about this one. Sometimes he still gets one right. Young men Get yourselves through high school. Go into the trades. Work hard. Take that paycheck. Spend a little on a Friday night and save the rest. It's not going far. Back to mom's basement. Meet a nice young lady and take her there. That's not the way to start. No wonder they're so angry. And they don't know who to be angry at. So the most vulgar among us are capturing them. And I really, really think that might be the spot where I'm most ready to address this. I want my daughter to grow up and meet a great young man who works hard, whose life is not marked by stressor after stressor after stressor, who grew up in a 2-parent family where there was plenty of food on the table and the roof didn't leak overhead. And the vehicles worked. And the vehicles got fixed when there was a fender bender. Is it like this in your town? You get a fender bender and you just don't fix it? I hit the ditch. I hit an ice patch, went into the ditch in my old truck. $6,000 worth of repairs for a quarter panel. And it was a 06, so it was time to trade it in anyway. $6,000 worth of repairs at the body shop. I brought it into the dealer. I got $1,000 trade-in value. I'm like, come on, man. It's got 4 corners. That's got to be worth, what's 6 times 4? Nerds. How come I'm not getting 24 grand in trade-in? This side, this quarter panel, and the 2 up front? You're giving me $1,000? And then you're signing me up for a new truck? Oh, the finance bros on Reddit loved that. Why would you buy a used truck on a teacher's salary? Because I wasn't buying a new one. I live in the Northwoods. We had 200 inches of snow up here. Think I'm driving that 2008 Corolla to work all winter? I do. But every once in a while I need the truck. I bought a truck, almost through the 6-7 years of payments. I think I'll have it done this year. Then I can address this credit cards. Then I can address the student loans. I paid mine off, but then I married a beautiful young woman who also thought that college was the key. And she's model gorgeous, but the modeling portfolio didn't pay all the student loan debt. So it's up to old Bird Dog. If we can figure out a way to incentivize this, monetize this, that would be fun. My wife showed me a TikTok of someone who, she was doing her house chores and she wanted to get a bunch of followers, and she got to announce that she had enough followers to pay some bills. So that's my goal too. We are getting by as a family of 3. I don't know if we'll be getting by as a family of 4. But I have some pretty cool ideas. I want to write a book called Love Letters to My Community. I want to write a book called Bird Dog for VP. And I don't know. My daydreams take me to this place where I create the system that saves our young men. I'm going to make a pod about my first free idea. It's really big. Community building, engaging for young men, because I do think this is important. I'm going to teach my daughter to be strong and independent and use her voice, and by God, she's going into karate as soon as she can walk. She's going to carry pepper spray, and her older brother's going to be around constantly when I get too old. Because this country is where I want to raise my children. If you hate it here, leave. I don't hate it here. I want it to be better. I love it here. I really do. And like I said in the first episode, if your political message isn't resonating, you don't manipulate, you don't lie, you don't gerrymander. You go back, think to yourself, why isn't this a popular message with most Americans? Probably because it only serves the powerful and the rich. And so, that's my Father's Day riff. Thanks for staying with me. Early on, these are unlisted on YouTube. You can only get to them from my Reddit. But I think if I can get a couple people to do that, then holy cow, those guys will be my biggest supporters, and I can ask them to help spread the word. Weekend after 4th of July, I'll be coming up on 1 year of sobriety. So that'll be a special episode. Eventually, when I get into the swing of things, I think I'm going to read HCR really carefully and watch Lawrence O'Donnell and kind of come up with a daily format just to talk about the news and how that side of the news would affect an average white guy, 40-something dad trying to enter the middle class, paying careful attention to the state of this country because he loves it here and he wants to raise his kids safely, happily, healthily. Because that's what a father does. And I need to know which politicians are willing to work with me on that and which politicians are only in it for themselves, trying to get to Washington to make that lobbyist buck, try to sell parts of this country off for their own personal profit. That's unacceptable. And so it's an important mission. You know, they say you should do what you love, and this is something I love. I love paying attention to what the people in power are doing. And I love trying to explain carefully how things work in my mind. Because I've also noticed my mind isn't like other minds. I tested into Mensa in college. I 4-pointed high school. So thinking about things clearly, I think that's a skill I have. And hopefully being entertaining will be a skill that I develop. I mean, I'm good at talking to 9-year-olds and telling jokes and holding their attention. But we'll see. It's tougher with adults. So thanks for being here. Like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. I'll get used to it.